If you've ever bought too much paintball stuff and got in trouble with your credit card company, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Today, we're talking about the Free Flow pipe. But first, I'd like to thank Ty and his friends for helping me out with the intro. I didn't have time to get everyone's names and we kind of got rained out, but everyone did great. Full disclosure, Buddy didn't send this to me for free, so it sucks. However, I did pay for it with my own money. Now, a Free Flow pipe is a custom DSR Plus from Free Flow in the similar vein to the Free Flow Tricks, but the body has actually been milled down to pretty much an absolute minimum. There's a lot of meat left on the bone, if you will. It's pretty much down to a minimum. Also, right off the bat, I want to clarify something. These bodies are not DSR Plus bodies that have been milled down. These are actually milled from billet aluminum, specifically for the pipe. One of the ways you can tell is that there isn't a bevel here, which on a normal DSR Plus there is. So these are custom milled for the Free Flow pipe. Now, this specific pipe is what Free Flow calls an LTP pipe. I can only assume the LTP stands for limited time production. I'm not 100% sure, but essentially it's a prototype. This was one of 5 or 6 pipes that got sent off for test anodizing. And once that was complete, they came back to Free Flow and they decided to sell these off. Just to be clear, the test anodizing was not done by Arc Anodizing. This is from another anodizer. I don't know their name, and honestly, I'm kind of okay with that because I'm going to kind of talk some smack about their anodizing job. But first, just real quick, it just comes in a regular DSR Plus case. Nothing really going on here. This is just electronic. This is just an electronic gun. There's no mechanical frame. I didn't buy any mechanical frame with this. I don't know where else to put this in the video, but one thing I would kind of like to see from Free Flow, there isn't any specialized card. Like, they don't sell a lot of these guns, and I would like to have a specialized little card or just something where you have a hotline or a special email or something like that where you can get a hold of Free Flow a lot faster than just going on their website. Considering they don't sell that many of these guns, I think that would be a nice touch that you could have for your customers since your customer base is kind of small. Now, I mentioned before that the anodizing was not done by Arc Anodizing, which is actually very important because personally, I don't think that whoever anodized this did a very good job. It may be hard to kind of show on camera, but this is just a regular barrel back that comes with any stock DSR Plus, but you may be able to tell on camera or not, but one side of the barrel back has a slightly different color than the other. Same thing you can kind of tell with this. The feed neck up here is a different green than the fade here. And the interior of this barrel, actually when I first got it, it wasn't actually finished very well. I managed to finish it up a little bit. I don't know if it has anything to do with the anodizing or not, but it seemed like once every case I would get a ball break for no apparent reason. And it seemed to be happening in the front tip here. I'm not 100% sure if it could be just the paint. It could be that the barrel wasn't finished. It's kind of hard to tell because it happens so infrequently, but it is something I noticed enough that it did remind me to talk about it. The one thing that I had problems with is the dimensions, especially on these trigger pins here, the trigger stop pins, and also on the regulator. Essentially, the trigger stop pins, like everything was just a little bit loose on all the tolerances all around the gun, pretty much. Right here on this back cap here, there's kind of a big gap. You can kind of sort of see that right there. There's a little bit bigger gap than you'd expect. I'm not intimately familiar with the anodizing process, but I do know you can change dimensions somewhere along the process if you're not careful. And I don't think the anodizing company who did this gun was all that careful. There's a lot of quirkiness to this gun because of the anodizing process. One of the quirks is that the ASA back here. I've had a number of DSR Pluses come across my desk in the past couple of months, and all of them have timed exactly I can use the same tank on all their DSR Pluses, and they'll all time directly. The gauge is directly in line with the gun. This one times a little bit off, and out of the 4 tanks that I have, only 2 of them work in this particular pipe. For instance, this is one of the tanks that doesn't work in here. I've found that certain tanks don't work with it, but it's not a huge deal because all you have to do is change out that top O-ring on the tank for a fresh one and it'll work fine. But that's what I'm kind of getting at with these tolerance issues. Tolerances are off just enough to get weird little quirky things about this particular gun. And in all honesty, I'm a little surprised that FreeFlow actually sold these because of how kind of quirky and a little bit out of spec these are. However, they did sell them with full disclosure, knowing that these were basically blemish guns. Like the anodizing is off, the milling is off a little bit. I mean, that's what I mean by it's kind of a prototype. Functionally, it's just as pipe as any other pipe that's out there. But there's like a little quirky things here, like there's no bevel here, and you can kind of see there's a little inconsistency with the milling, and like I said, there's inconsistency with the anodizing. But functionally, it's pretty much as pipe as you can get. So that's why I thought it was kind of an interesting gun to pick up for review. But with like all tragedies come opportunity. And I thought this was a good opportunity to show you what it really means to get a good anodizer. You can't really just ship it off to Jim Bob's barnyard anodizing process and expect to have a really good gun come back to you. If you get your dream gun and you want to have it your dream anodizing, you really have to pay out for it, because or else you'll get weird little things like this where some things just don't work right. That's kind of the reason why Planet Eclipse doesn't like people re-anodizing their guns, because it bumps off the tolerances, and you can get problems like this or sometimes worse depending on who you send it to for anodizing. Now, one of the main qualities of the FreeFlow pipe that I'm sure a lot of people are wondering is how much lighter is it compared to a regular DSR Plus or even a Trix. I'm just going to use a regular DSR Plus because I've weighed the Trix and a DSR Plus and they're virtually identical. The DSR Plus has a little deeper scallop cut in this back cap here, and the Trix doesn't, and that's literally the weight difference. So practically the Trix and the DSR Plus weigh the same. So I'm just going to use a regular DSR Plus. Has a battery in it. This is reading 1.698 pounds. Unfortunately, my scale doesn't do ounces. It does can do other units, like 27.2 ounces. Or 771 grams. So that's for the DSR Plus. And okay. And now for the FreeFlow pipe. 1.458 pounds, or 23.35 ounces, or 662 grams. So essentially the pipe is about a quarter pound lighter than a regular DSR Plus. It doesn't sound like a lot, but you can really feel the difference between the two, especially when you're picking them both up. And also, I forgot to mention, it's got a battery in it too, so it's about as apples to apples as you can get. So this is kind of like you, and this is the guy she told you not to worry about. You know, this is you with your McDonald's double quarter pounders and your Cialis erections, and this is like Brad Pitt in Fight Club with, you know, oh, what were those things called? You know the things, he has those things like
cum gutters.
Pretty gross.
That's what people call them.
Gross people. I don't want to have to picture cum so watery in such volumes that...
I'm sure I'll think of it in editing. Anyway, one thing I did with this pipe is I figured out a way how to polish some of the internals. Not all of them, but it's one of those things when you move your bolt back and forth, you can kind of hear like a corduroy ziplock kind of sound to it. And it's one of those things that I know for a fact that it's not sealing up properly. This is one of those kind of quote-unquote problems that Dye has always had. This goes back to the original DM4. It's not a major problem, but it is something that I, as a tinkerer, I like to kind of figure out how to improve those surfaces. And essentially that's how the inception of the Billy Wing bolt came about, is that it was an improvement upon the manufacturing process to get better efficiency and consistency out of their guns. So one thing I did was I polished the inside of the bolt, because there are these two O-rings here that ride in it, and I wanted to get that cleaned up because, truth be told, big disclaimer, don't do this. I'm telling you what I did to the gun, but I'm not recommending you do this at all. This is just for the review process that I did do something extra to this gun, but it's not something I recommend. Essentially, the first bolt I got with this, it would be hard to tell. I can't really show it on camera, but there was like a kind of a gouge right about here in the bolt and in the inside. And I tried polishing it out. Unfortunately, the gouge is so big that by the time I polished it out, it had put the bolt out of spec, so it didn't really work anymore. So that's one of the reasons why I don't recommend polishing any of your internals. You can, if you go too crazy with them, you can put them out of spec and they won't work anymore. And considering how few of these get made, I wouldn't want to have anyone ruin their parts just to not be able to replace them anymore. So one of the things I did with the free flow bolt is I got a screw, don't know what size it was, I just brought my bolt to the hardware store. Got some washers, and essentially I found a screw that would fit through the bolt face. So essentially got a washer on this side. Eventually, now that I think about it, I went without the washer on that side. And essentially what I did was I just took the bolt, dropped it down in until it came out the other side. That's when I got the washer. It's a little curved on one side, so I put the curved side down and I screwed the nut back onto the bolt. Got it all nice and tight. So what that does is allows me to put this onto a hand drill and then I can spin it. Now essentially what I did is I got a wooden dowel and I wrapped 2000 grit sandpaper around it because again I didn't want to go too extreme. Wrapped it around the dowel here and then I slid the sandpaper down so there's a little bit more squish to it. So it wasn't just a hard wooden dowel underneath it. There's a little squish to it. And then this, with the bolt in a electric drill, I had it spinning and just simply moved the sandpaper back and forth while it was spinning until I got my desired finish, basically nice and smooth. And then I took one of these things. I got these from Amazon a couple years ago. I don't know what they were for originally, but I had a bag of them. And it worked out great. I got cover this in Mother's Polish and just polish the inside of the bolt like that. That's all I did for the bolt. Also, I did the back cap here. Unfortunately, these little sanding wheels that come with the Dremel were just so slightly too big to fit in the back here. So what I did, I sanded this down and now it fit in perfectly and I could spin this onto my table. But also I could spin this in a drill. And same thing here, just took 2000 grit and while this is spinning, put this in here until I got a nice smooth finish and again polished it out with these little weird swabs that I got off of Amazon. Lastly, same thing with the inside of the regulator body here. Got another screw, another nut, another washer. Again, took this to the hardware store, found one that fit into this hole in here, put the screw through the inside of it here. Washer on the outside just to be sure. Took this nut, spun it all the way down so it was nice and finger tight. I didn't go too hard because again, I'm trying to preserve these parts, not destroy them and change them into something else. But here you can spin this in a drill and that's what I did. Same thing. 2000 grit sandpaper on the inside, moved it back and forth until I got a finish that I wanted and then polished it with these little swabs. I wanted to polish the inside of here, but I couldn't find anything that I could really fit into here that easily. I mean, I took it to the hardware store. There wasn't anything in the plumbing section that was kind of fit this right, and so basically I left this alone. This is the last thing that I wanted to improve, but alas, I couldn't get to it. Well, it depends on who you ask. I could improve it or ruin it, so either way. Now, before I get into the results of my polishing efforts, what a good example of what polishing can do would be an efficiency test. Now, keep in mind, before I did the efficiency test is when I did all the polishing. I didn't do one before or after. It was just one of those things that I did the back cap one day, and then I figured out how to do the bolt the other, and then I did the so it was like there weren't any tests before I did the polishing and after. Considering I've done a few efficiency tests with other DSR pluses and Trixes and other things like that, I thought I didn't really need to have a before and after. So let's go do the efficiency test. So I am out here at Outdoor Extreme Angelica for a quick efficiency test with the free flow pipe. As always, I believe any modern paintball gun should be able to get through 6 pods on one 6845 tank. So that's why we have the first 6 pods red, second set green. We are currently at around 4,000 PSI. 6845, reg pressure 450, barrel back 680, and I'm pretty sure we're sitting at right at 300, but we'll check to make sure beforehand. Okay. 320, 297, that's better. 301. 391, 291, 306, 297, 303, 300. I'd say that's close enough. So pod 1. Pod 2. Hold up. Pod 3. Pod 4. Pod 5. Pod 6. We're about 2,000 psi. Pod 7. Pod 8. Pod 9. Pod 10. Pod 11. I think this is going to be the last one because we're almost out of air. Yep, there it goes right there. So let's do a quick little chronograph. 266, 270, 265, 265, 268, 267, 268. So pretty consistent, but it is low. So I'm going to say 10 solid pods. You can kind of squeeze out an 11 if you're slow about it, but 10 pods with a free flow pipe. Now, as you can see from the efficiency test, all my efforts in polishing resulted in a big, fat nothing. With all that effort in polishing, it really didn't improve the efficiency or consistency or anything like that dramatically enough to really warrant going to the lengths of polishing it. That's why I don't really recommend doing it, because it doesn't really add anything and it kind of adds a lot of risk that you could screw up your internal components, but it really didn't show up in any meaningful way. Now, one thing we haven't talked about is how I personally like the pipe. Honestly, I like this more than my Trix. I feel like this shoots better than my Trix does, because I was thinking that since it's a 1/4 pound lighter, you'd get a little more thump in the gun. You know, you'd feel a little bit more recoil because there isn't as much weight that the recoil has to move beforehand. And you know, I thought it would just be like, okay, it's cooler, it's lightweight, but it's not as going to be as smooth. I was wrong. It actually shoots just as good as a regular DSR Plus. So that's kind of why it's my favorite DSR Plus variant that I've done a review on so far. But don't just take my word for it. I went to Outdoor Extreme Angelica and I got a bunch of people to shoot the DSR Plus and the pipe back to back and see which one they liked more. Now, in preparation for the comparison, I got the same barrel back, both 680, and both guns shooting at the same velocity, around the 295-ish. Both have the SFRs in the middle, and both have 6845 tanks set at approximately 400, 450 PSI. So I made it about as apples to apples as I possibly could, and then I just loaned it out to people and see what they thought of it.
This one's definitely got a snappier shot to it. It sounds like crisper compared to the other one. I think I like this one better.
Just like my DSR Plus. And this one is just a pipe with any bolts or anything?
That has a free flow bolt in it. So
cool.
that's how it came, that's how I got it.
Yep, same settings.
Yep.
Already it feels way lighter. Holy shit. Same trigger? No, this
no,
is
no. That's the free flow trigger, whatever that one they call that.
Yeah, this is way better. I would definitely like to have one of these. There's no kick, and it's light. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I would trade mine for sure. That's nice. And then you can put the mech frame on this too, right?
Yep.
That's cool. Very nice. I definitely like the pipe.
This is the free flow pipe. That's the
Free
DSR Plus.
DSR Plus. Okay,
Yep.
gotcha. For the free flow pipe, I definitely felt more of a kick to the gun. Obviously, it did feel a little bit lightweight as well compared to the other gun. The trigger was very satisfying to pull. That's pretty much it.
I like this one better. This other one had a little bit more like recoil to it,
Okay.
and this one also like shoots. It was harder to like get the trigger to shoot with that one.
All right. All right, yeah, I like that. Just trying to hit. Yup. Yeah, that's insane. The difference is actually really nice.
So what do you like about that one more?
It's a little smoother of a shot. It's definitely a lot quieter than the other one. I feel like you can get a little more ball on ball with straight out of barrel. Like this is straight out of the box barrel, right?
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, it feels like you can get more shot on shot with it. You mind if I turn it back on?
No.
Yeah, it feels. Yeah, shot softness. I like how it feels in your hands. It's nice light. Actually, something that I would kind of prefer getting up to next.
So you'd prefer that over the DSR Plus then?
Yes.
Okay.
This is definitely something that I would look into getting.
Now I've mentioned it before, but the pipe is kind of my favorite DSR Plus variant at this point, at least that I've reviewed so far. The thing about the pipe is though, it's never had like a big official release, like not like the Trix, not like the Dark. It just kind of shows up and is like, hey, if you want a pipe, here it is, but you don't really have time to prepare, and there's a lot of hoopla surrounding it. And I feel that's kind of a shame because I feel like more people would want to have a pipe if they knew how good it shot and things like that. I mean, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like there's a lot you can do. At least personally, something that I wouldn't do is inundate all of FreeFlow's social media with well-crafted shitposts and memes and basically harass them into a response and ask Buddy where the pipe is. But that's something I wouldn't do because I already have a pipe. So it's not really for me. Anyway, with that, that's all I got for you. Oh, one last thing. Really go out of your way to help new players kind of acclimate themselves into the sport. Paintball can be kind of an intimidating sport to get into, and the last thing we want is more people playing airsoft.